Hello, everyone, and welcome to the December 9th, 2015 episode of Balls Deep Sports Talk with me, your host, Scotty Ball. Thank you for tuning in to the show, finding your way to the show again this week, whether it be via your usual means or via new means. You may be having to explore some of the other platforms that the show is brought to you on last week, this week, and possibly next week yet, as our mothership state internet radio station, WNLMradio.com, is still currently under reconstruction. However, I am told, at least, that should be, up and running and new and improved and better than ever within another week or two yet. And just keep listening to the show and following on social media to know when that takes place. In the meantime, you're listening to the show likely on the Spreaker app, or possibly you're listening on SoundCloud, or maybe even via YouTube. Those are the three platforms we're coming to you again exclusively this week, and likely next week yet for sure as well, but I'm not 100% on that. Also, a friendly reminder to our regular listeners who choose to listen on the TuneIn app that is also down until WNLMradio.com is back up. Those two are linked together for us here at the show, and so when one is back up and running, the other will be as well. Alright, so yeah, there's your show news, what's going on, where we're at yet, kind of another week of the same. So we'll be keeping it loose, trying to keep it a little short here, I think, just in general, for the month of December, at least in, relatively speaking, in regards to how long the show has been running, September, October, November, and into December here. We're going to be trying to keep it at 2 hours maximum again here for the remainder of the month. Just everybody's got stuff going on in their lives, not just me, even though, being the working family man that I am, the month of December is extremely limited on time, as I'm sure most of you can relate as well. But so if you want to, other than listening to the show, if you want the best way to keep up with all that show news and be in the know, as soon as I know anything, I pass it on, or at least I try to. You can do that on Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook. So am I. Simply search Scotty-Ball, and you will see the Green Balls Deep Sports Talk logo, and that is me. If you don't see that, then that's not me. Or you can follow the show on Twitter, which is what I most prefer you do. If you're going to do one or the other, I like it when you do both. But, that's just, that's how I roll. But the best way is to follow the show on Twitter, or at least my favorite way, as I said. And our Twitter handle for the show is @BDST Show. Again, follow us on Twitter @BDST Show. And like and friend me on Facebook, searching Scotty-Ball. All right. So not only does that keep you in the know with what's going on with the show, it also keeps you in the know with what's going on in the sports world, as well as I repost and retweet lots of sports news and things along those lines. All right, so what do we got for sports to talk about tonight? Well, plenty, as always, I assure you. But it's getting into the heart of the NFL regular season, where we are in the final 4 weeks, 4 games of the NFL regular season. So divisions, races, wild card races, the race for the first pick in the draft, all kinds of interesting finalizing competition things going on. So we will be checking in with all of that, getting you, up to speed and in the know on everything you need and want to know, and probably some stuff you don't, hopefully at least as well, including a breakdown of what went wrong at this Sunday's game for my, and possibly your, hopefully not your, Minnesota Vikings. Now, I know if you listened to the show last week, I was so excited to be going to the game. I have hadn't been to a game in an extremely long time. I was going with one of my favorite people in the world, and was super, super excited and happy about that. And then I got a text message about a day or two after I did the show asking if we could do the Bears game instead. I said, sure, why not, just so long as we get to go to a game. And, at halftime of this week's game, I was sitting at home watching it on TV thinking, boy, am I glad that we are not at this. And I felt bad for a lot of the people who were, well, not bad, but, if that's the only game you get to go to, the whole year and several years, like it's been the case for me, then you feel bad for those people. But so you get my thoughts on the current state of the Minnesota Vikings, including, like I said, what happened this last Sunday at home against the Seattle Seahawks, and what I think is going to happen this week, which is tomorrow night as I'm recording the show here, Wednesday night, or, tonight if you're likely listening to the show on Thursday after I've got it uploaded and everything. The Vikings play Thursday this week against who is, in my opinion, the best team in the NFC, possibly in the NFL, the Arizona Cardinals. They are 10-2, and that game is in Arizona, and it is the Thursday night NFL Network game of the week. Don't worry, Minnesotans. I'm sure it will be on KSTP Channel 5 or WCCO Channel 4 or CARE 11 or Fox 9. I'm sure it will be on one of those four if you do not have NFL Network. Don't worry. But yeah, so you get my take on everything purple as well as the rest of the NFL. We'll be talking college football, Gophers in a bowl, ridiculously enough. The top four playoff for the championship has been determined. You will get my thoughts on that. We got a little bit of NHL hockey to discuss with the Wild, as well as going around the league. We've got NBA basketball to talk about. Timberwolves playing tonight as I'm recording it, likely last night as you're listening. At home, hosting the Kobe Bryant farewell tour that is the Los Angeles Lakers this year. So we'll be talking that, as well as historic undefeated Golden State Warriors, and other league-wide standings, news, whatnot. You'll also be getting an awesome semi-basketball related Balls Deep thought of the day that's going to be on the very light, comical, different than anything we've done before with it side. And I cannot encourage you enough to stick around to the end of the show for that. It will be worth your while, I promise. We've also got a little bit of baseball news to discuss, some Twins lineup tinkerings that are, we'll throw out there so that we can all kind of chew on it, think about it, you get my initial thoughts and whatnot, as well as another big name, big money pitcher signing in Major League Baseball's free agency. We've also got WWE TLC pay-per-view this coming Sunday to preview, as well as UFC 194 this Saturday with the big epic, was supposed to happen like 2 pay-per-views ago, but couldn't, and now we're getting it. The big title fight between Jose or Jose. I'm not sure exactly the correct way to say it is, but I'm actually going to go with Jose, because that's how I heard Joe Rogan always says it is Jose. Usually he doesn't say Jose. At least I think it's Joe Rogan, but I know one of the main guys says Jose. So that's what I'm sticking with. But Jose Aldo versus Conor McGregor, the UFC real-life version of Sheamus, I guess, if you're a WWE fan. It's a big, huge title fight. We'll be going over the match card, trying to preview and pick this Saturday's UFC 194 as well. That's probably going to be what we have for general topics here on tonight's show. It'll be a good one, though. I promise you. All right, well, we keep it rolling, and get to our opening segment here on this week's 43rd weekly episode of the show. Thanks again for listening. Boy, well, what do we got? What are we opening with? I'm a big WWE fan. We got a pay-per-view coming up this Sunday, but no, it's, man, if you're a WWE fan, you know that pay-per-views after, you know, after September, if it's not before September and it's a pay-per-view, man, and anything in October, November, and December, it's a throwaway. It stinks. So that's where we're at there. So definitely not starting with WWE. UFC 194 this Saturday, on the other hand. Very big fight card that night. High, profile matchups and whatnot. And I am a very big UFC fan, albeit that I don't get to watch it nowhere near as often as I would like to, considering, my schedule and the schedule of, viewing UFC events. But so maybe we'll set that on the side. Baseball, another big signing, kind of same thought though, as last week's big baseball signing. So not baseball. T-Wolves, NBA undefeated Warriors. We'll save that for later. Same with hockey. College football. Oh man, last week's games for conference championships were incredible. The Big Ten championship came down to the final 30 seconds. The ACC championship came down to a botched call. Well, I mean, not that it came down to it, but the outcome of the game was definitely, it impacted. It impacted the game. Refs made a terrible, terrible penalty call when there was no penalty in the UNC Clemson game. Oh man, if you watched that, unbelievable. I watched that in live time, couldn't believe it. And then with the seeding, so results of the games last week, really hot. The seeding that we got of the four teams that were chosen, I don't think there's any debate with the result, with the outcomes of the games. I don't think there's any debate with the four teams that got in, but the seeding of said four teams is highly questionable, in my opinion. And just the college football playoffs, as they call it, or as the play-ins, as I call it, because I call it what it really is. That just fires me up in general anyway. I can't. All the college playoff does, I've said this many times here on the show, sorry for beating the dead horse, but the 4-team playoffs is merely a play-in. It's a punishment play-in game to the top 2 seeds that deserve to be in the national championship, as the format was for 100 plus years, whatever, before we just changed it here a few years ago. No, I'm not some crazy purist. But changing your postseason from 2 teams to 4 is by no means making a playoff system at all. It's a play-in. You now have 2 play-in games to get to the championship. Playoffs requires multiple rounds, not just a play-in round and then the championship round. That's not a playoffs. Well, I mean, I guess it was in baseball maybe for a while, but besides the point. Fired up over college football playoffs. What happened last week? Seedings, the format in general. I am fired up about it. But that is not where we're going. No. We are going to start the same way we did last week, but different. Which, that's how we roll. We do it the same but different, like, if you can't get that, then you can't, you're not ready to go balls deep yet, you know what I'm saying? But we are starting this week once again with NFL football, and specifically the Minnesota Vikings. Now, last week, it was a joyous, celebratory, Vikings are in first, feel good, in a week we're going to be playing for the number 2 seed in the NFC, and or could be. I never said we were going to be, but